back to the depravity issue. Depravity enters poor neighborhoods. It enters systems of power, and it also enters systems of reform. So where's that? You know, you're not the sinless. Just because you're the SJW or the reformer or whatever doesn't mean that you are pure of heart. And so reform the reformers. You know, like you're basically giving caution to people, and I think that's right and that's fair. It can become a very self-justifying way to absolve yourself. You know, you were talking about the other way how we justify ourselves. Yeah. We justify ourselves sometimes by, well, like you said, the religious teacher, the lawyer, right? He wanted to justify himself to avoid helping the guy. But sometimes people help people to justify themselves to avoid something else.
Exactly.
Right. That's not the way this is framed right now. If you are involved in the reforms, then that's the good thing. Like, not necessarily, you know. That's why.
Right.
That's why in that passage in Isaiah 24, he says, "As with the slave, as with the master, as with the maiden, as with her mistress." Like they all have some kind of nefarious,
right,
a potentially nefarious degree of self-interest, death avoidance, self-justification going on. But it's harder to. It's easy to see when you are robbing a bank. It's not easy to see when you are fighting for social reform.
And here's the other thing: it doesn't work. When reform is based off of other motives that aren't ultimately God and His kingdom and His beauty, His goodness, they don't work long term. You will burn out, or you will
build something different.
You will start to operate in a way contrary to what you said you valued, because your flesh will only go so far. And that's what I mean by white guilt. Guilt will only get you so far. We don't need white people that feel guilty and want to do something quickly to make a situation better. We need people that are convinced of the gospel and are following in obedience because they believe He's that good, that God is that beautiful, and they desire that beauty to be shown to the world. That will. It's like we talk about missions, right? Missions exist because worship doesn't. So,
well, I say it exists because worship does.
Right. Well, that's
all right,
two sides of the same coin, right? Like we are saying that the ultimate goal and motive is the worship of God because we love who He is.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So, what are the signs? So, okay, this is all good and well, but what are the signs that we're operating more out of the flesh than the kingdom? I'm going to suggest one is that the kingdom, which I would say not just good stuff happening, but bowing the knee to Jesus, is not expanding. Is that fair or is that too harsh? If you spent 30 years in social justice reform and nobody saw that what you see, that you delight in the king,
no, then you don't.
You're doing something else.
Yeah, you don't. I've been around a lot of friends over the years that they're not even believers anymore because they gave their heart to social justice, not to Jesus. They gave their heart to a cause. And I'm telling you, I'm sure they get angry at people. See, they act contrary to what they say is good. We see this all the time in our own hearts to a degree. It only goes so far. And so what will sustain us? What will give us beyond our own self-hypocrisy?
Ooh.
What is going to keep going? And that is, it's the kingdom of God. It's His glory. It will not return void. It is. His word is like a hammer that breaks the rock and a fire that burns the chaff in Jeremiah. His word goes forth and it doesn't return void. And if we go in that, like John Perkins says, it's going to take God to do this, right? That will endure.